find ways to say, no, like, we certainly deserve that, and we're not going to compromise on that, and then other things that we can probably compromise on. But like I said, like, this is the biggest moment in the history of the WNBA, and I don't want that to be forgotten. Similar, like, it's important that we find a way to play this next season, and I think our fans.
Hey, what a day! What a day! The GOAT, Caitlin Clark, made her return to the basketball floor today. I showed y'all, we got some live clips. I'm gonna show y'all some more, but the important part of this video, Caitlin Clark destroyed the WNBA, Nneka Ogwumike, Nafisa Collier, who tries to name drop her at her convenience to win people over, Breanna Stewart, the unrivaled co-founders, all these people that's a part of the board that's signing with Project B, and all of this stuff. Caitlin Clark called their asses out today. She said, stop playing games. We need to play.
So here's what just happened, and almost nobody expected it to go this far. Caitlin Clark directly challenged the WNBA Players Association in a way that caught the entire league off guard. This wasn't a quiet complaint or a vague statement. The most visible player in women's basketball stepped forward and publicly addressed what she sees as leadership choices that are putting the 2026 season in danger. While league executives and union leaders are busy exploring side projects like Project B and promoting Unrivaled, a 3-on-3 league that runs outside the traditional WNBA structure, Caitlin Clark focused on a much simpler point. The WNBA needs to prioritize actual 5-on-5 professional basketball, not distractions that pull attention, resources, and leverage away from the main league. This situation has moved far beyond normal labor disagreements. It's no longer just about salaries, scheduling, or benefits. The discussion has shifted toward the long-term stability of women's professional basketball. Caitlin Clark, the player who consistently fills arenas, drives television ratings, and brings in new fans, made it clear that patience is wearing thin. From her perspective, prolonged delays and mixed priorities are actively hurting the league.
The fact that she said what needed to be said. Y'all ladies on the board that signed to these other leagues that's compromised, conflict of interest, stop playing games, bruh. Stop playing games. She said it. Y'all want to see us play WNBA games. Y'all reporters, the fans, this is what they want to see us for. All this other stuff is cool. We're not there for that. We here to see y'all play WNBA hoops, bro. Straight up and down. CC standing on business.
To understand why this moment matters, it helps to look at the timeline. The WNBA and the WNBPA have been locked in collective bargaining negotiations for months. An original deadline of October 30th passed without resolution. That deadline was then pushed to January 9th, adding around 40 more days of negotiations. During that time, fans, sponsors, and players have been left wondering whether the 2026 season will move forward smoothly or face serious disruption. The most uncomfortable part of this situation involves overlapping roles. Several WNBPA board members who are tasked with negotiating on behalf of players are also deeply involved in launching a separate professional league. Nneka Ogwumike, Breanna Stewart, and Nafisa Collier are all publicly identified as co-founders of Unrivaled. At the same time, they remain part of the group responsible for negotiating with the WNBA. That overlap has raised questions about conflicts of interest. Even if all parties believe they are acting responsibly, the optics are difficult to ignore. A competing league benefits from uncertainty, delays, or dissatisfaction within the WNBA. That reality makes ongoing negotiations harder to separate from outside business interests. From Caitlin Clark's point of view, the issue isn't personal, it's structural. She is pushing back against what she sees as divided attention at a critical moment. With momentum finally building around the WNBA, she's arguing that leadership cannot afford to send mixed signals or stall progress while fans are more engaged than ever. This moment represents a shift in how players are publicly addressing league leadership. When the league's most marketable and influential star speaks this directly, it forces uncomfortable conversations into the open and puts pressure on everyone involved to clarify their priorities. Explain how any of this is supposed to make logical sense at this point. Fans have been sitting around watching deadlines get pushed, meetings drag on, and leadership talk in circles, all all while nothing actually changes. People have been waiting for someone with real star power to finally say something honest. Not another union representative reading prepared talking points, not another carefully worded press release that avoids the real issue. For a long time, the WNBA has been missing a voice that truly cuts through the noise. Someone who doesn't just speak for a committee, but speaks from real influence and real impact. That's why this moment landed so hard. Caitlin Clark stepped into a space that had been empty, and she didn't waste time easing into it. She's barely back from injury, just returned to the court, and she's already done pretending this whole situation is normal. She walked up to the microphone at USA basketball camp and said exactly what fans have been thinking, but haven't heard out loud. It wasn't dramatic for the sake of drama. It was direct, measured, and serious. And once she spoke, the conversation shifted instantly because people actually listened. Here's the exact quote, and every word matters. This represents the biggest moment the WNBA has ever experienced, and it's definitely not something that can be screwed up. We're gonna fight for absolutely everything we deserve, but at the exact same time, we need to actually play basketball. That's what our fans are craving. End quote. Now break that down carefully because this wasn't just a motivational line. Caitlin Clark was making it clear that two things can be true at once. Players deserve better pay, better treatment, and stronger protections. But none of that works if the league itself gets pushed to the side. You can fight for progress and still prioritize the product on the court. What she was really saying, without naming names, was simple. She's not interested in being pulled into side projects that distract from the main league. She's not chasing 3-on-3 alternatives. She's not here for Unrivaled or Project B. Her focus is WNBA basketball, and she expects leadership to protect that foundation before everything starts slipping. She kept pressing the point because the business side matters too. The real money comes from real games. That's how leagues grow. That's how stars are built. That's how sponsors stay invested. Fans don't connect with ideas or concepts. They connect with actual competition, real rivalries, and full games that matter in the standings. People don't pack arenas for exhibitions. They don't build loyalty around off-season tournaments that feel disconnected. They want the authentic product, the version of the league that feels serious and stable. And that's why her message stung, because it challenged the direction leadership has been flirting with and forced everyone to confront what really matters right now. She made it clear that compromise is possible, but only if the league keeps moving forward. The idea was simple. Maybe a 5-year deal isn't necessary right now. A shorter 3-year CBA could make more sense, allowing both sides to return to the table sooner after the league has had time to grow. But none of that matters if games are not being played. That's where the leadership shows. You cannot negotiate your way into a bigger share if the product itself is stalled or damaged in the process. The timing of this debate matters more than ever. The WNBA just wrapped up the most successful season in its history. Television ratings jumped to record levels. Attendance numbers shattered previous highs. A massive $2.2 billion media rights deal was secured, bringing real financial stability and long-term exposure to the league. Momentum like that is rare, and once it's lost, it's difficult to recover. Now that momentum is being put at risk. The league's reported offer includes a salary cap around $5 million, maximum salaries approaching $1.5 million, and a revenue-sharing structure tied directly to league growth. Under that system, max contracts could reach around $1.2 million, with annual increases based on performance and revenue. On paper, that represents the most aggressive financial structure the league has ever proposed. From the union's perspective, concerns remain. They argue that revenue-sharing percentages sit too low compared to projected league income. They've raised alarms about housing subsidies potentially being removed. They've also pointed to the possibility of training camps starting earlier in the year, which would affect player schedules and recovery time. These are not small issues, but the scale of the response has raised eyebrows. Here's where the disconnect becomes harder to ignore. The idea of risking an entire season over housing benefits or training camp timing feels extreme to many fans. That concern grows louder when some of the same voices involved in negotiations are also signing contracts with outside leagues that do not offer housing support at all. Those leagues operate in smaller venues, draw limited crowds, and do not carry the same financial upside as the WNBA. Caitlin Clark sees the situation clearly. She understands that her ability to sell out arenas is a major driver of the league's growth. She averaged more than 17,000 fans per game. She is a major reason national networks are discussing the WNBA in primetime slots. Expansion franchises are selling for unprecedented valuations, and her presence is a key factor in that surge. Her message is straightforward. She is willing to help generate the revenue again. She is willing to fill seats again. But she needs the league to exist and operate without self-inflicted roadblocks. Delaying or sabotaging a historic moment over fixable details risks wasting a rare opportunity to build something lasting. What many people avoid saying publicly is that prolonged uncertainty benefits outside interests. WNBA board members with ties to competing leagues have little incentive to rush a resolution. That reality adds another layer to an already complicated situation and makes clarity, transparency, and urgency more important than ever. Every single month the WNBA season gets delayed turns into another month of free attention for 3-on-3 basketball, and that part can't be ignored anymore. While official games stay in limbo, Unrivaled keeps getting headlines, buzz, and exposure without lifting a finger. Every controversy, every argument, every delay becomes free promotion for a competing product. Think about the logic for a second. If the WNBA season starts on time and runs normally, nobody is rushing to watch 3-on-3 basketball in February. Fans are locked in on real games, real rivalries, and real standings. But if the WNBA season doesn't happen, suddenly Unrivaled becomes the only place to see familiar WNBA stars on the court. That's not a standard negotiation strategy anymore. That starts looking like leverage built on chaos. Caitlin Clark didn't have to name names or point fingers to make that clear. She didn't throw anyone directly under the bus. She simply laid out the situation in a way that made people connect the dots themselves. Her message was direct without being reckless. Some of the people sitting at the negotiating table clearly don't benefit from a fast resolution. And when delays help alternative leagues gain traction, it raises serious questions about priorities. That's a hard truth, and it landed because it came from the one person who doesn't need side projects to stay relevant. The timing of her comments made them even louder. She was at USA basketball camp, surrounded by other top WNBA players, and she was the one willing to say what others avoided. Not the union president, not board members. The player who actually drives revenue and attention spoke up while everyone else stayed quiet. The reaction was immediate. Social media lit up the moment her comments started circulating. Fans have been waiting for Caitlin Clark to weigh in, and when she finally did, the response was overwhelming. People weren't surprised by what she said. They were relieved that someone finally said it out loud. Her stance was clear. She's not interested in alternative leagues as a replacement. It's WNBA basketball or nothing. That position instantly changed the pressure dynamic. Because when the league's biggest star is publicly saying compromise is necessary so games can be played, it removes a lot of cover from the union's position. It becomes harder to frame the situation as purely fighting for fairness when the face of the league is saying players deserve to play. The narrative shifts fast when your top draw is openly pushing for solutions instead of standoffs. CBS Sports jumped into the conversation with a blunt headline pointing out that the WNBA appears to be undermining its own product. The article highlighted the contradictions. Billionaires paying around $250 million for expansion teams, franchise valuations climbing past $500 million, a massive media rights deal already locked in. And yet, the league is still tangled in disputes over respect, structure, and trust. That contrast is exactly why Caitlin Clark's comments hit so hard. The money is coming in, the fans are showing up, the momentum is real, and delaying the season now doesn't just stall progress. It risks handing attention, leverage, and growth to anyone waiting on the sidelines. But here's the real truth that keeps getting skipped over. Respect isn't just about dollar figures on a spreadsheet. It's about integrity and trust. When union leadership has competing financial interests, when people involved in negotiations are also signing deals with rival leagues at the same time, that doesn't feel like respect to a lot of fans and players. That feels like loyalty being stretched thin, and Caitlin Clark clearly sees that line. She understands something the union leadership seems to miss. You cannot force respect through pressure alone. You don't strong-arm your way into credibility. You earn it by delivering the product over and over again. You earn it by being so undeniable on the court that the market has no choice but to recognize your value and pay accordingly. She even said it herself. This represents the biggest moment in WNBA history. That statement wasn't hype. It was a warning. Don't mess it up. And she's right. This is the moment that decides everything. This is the inflection point where the league either locks in historic momentum or wastes it with internal conflict and short-term thinking. The WNBA's current offer is far from perfect, and nobody is pretending otherwise. A $5 million salary cap is still modest when compared to other major leagues. Revenue sharing at 10 to 15% is below what many players believe reflects their true contribution. Those concerns are valid and worth addressing. But there is something far worse than an imperfect deal, and that's no season at all. Caitlin Clark understands the bigger picture. She said, "We need to play this season." That statement says everything about her mindset. She's not just thinking about herself or her own contract. She's thinking about the players who came before her, the legends who built this league with limited resources and little attention. She's thinking about honoring their work by keeping the league alive and visible. She's also thinking about the fans, the people who finally started tuning in, buying tickets, and filling arenas. The families, kids, and casual viewers who discovered the WNBA and decided to stick around. That kind of attention is fragile, and once it's gone, it doesn't automatically come back. She's thinking long-term too, about what the league could become if this momentum is protected and grown. Meanwhile, too much energy from leadership appears tied up in side leagues, leverage plays, and outside interests. That's where the frustration builds. It feels like different people are playing different games. While some are focused on short-term positioning, Caitlin Clark is thinking several moves ahead. It's chess, not checkers. And the move isn't complicated. Play the season, dominate the market, grow the audience even more, then come back to the negotiating table with stronger numbers and stronger leverage. If players want a significantly better deal in 3 years, the path is clear. Make the next 3 seasons impossible to ignore. Build something so successful that the league has no option but to meet those demands. That's the strategy, and Caitlin Clark is already playing it perfectly. If you really want respect in this league, it's not just about demanding it. You have to become so valuable that losing you would shake the entire operation. That's the message Caitlin Clark is sending loud and clear. She's saying she'll sell out arenas, bring ratings, and lift the whole ecosystem. But none of that happens if the games don't get played. You can't live off potential forever. You can't cash checks from a season that never happens. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Caitlin Clark does not need the WNBA as much as the WNBA needs her. She could go overseas and make more money. She could focus on endorsements and media deals and still be set for life. But she chooses to be here because she believes in the league. That's loyalty. That's commitment. And the fact that she's the one pushing for compromise while union leadership digs in tells you a lot about who's really thinking about the future. Another truth people avoid saying out loud is this. Most players are not Caitlin Clark level stars. They are not Angel Reese or Paige Buchers. If there's no season, many players lose their primary income completely. Caitlin Clark understands that. She's advocating for the players who don't have the platform or leverage to speak freely. She knows a canceled season hurts role players and bench players far more than established stars. Meanwhile, leadership is insulated. They have side league money, endorsements, and backup plans. They'll be fine if things drag out. A lot of players won't. That's why her comments hit so hard. She exposed the gap between union leadership and actual player interests. She said what many players are thinking but cannot say without risking their careers. That's real leadership. The league even offered yearly pay increases tied directly to growth. That's exactly what players have been asking for, a model where salaries rise as the league grows. But the union says it's still not enough. So the question becomes simple. What is enough? What number ends this immediately? Right now, it looks like delay is the strategy. Caitlin Clark is done with that. January 9th is approaching fast. Training camp is at risk, the season is at risk, everything built over the last year is on the line. She even offered a real solution, a shorter 3-year CBA instead of 5. That allows players to renegotiate sooner if growth continues. That's compromise, that's strategy. But compromise only works if both sides give something up. Instead, it feels like leadership wants everything now. max salaries, revenue guarantees, housing demands, later camps, and more leverage. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is saying, fight for everything later, but play now. Fans deserve it. Legacy players deserve it. The future depends on it. Here's the irony. The player with the most leverage is the most willing to bend. That flips the entire narrative. If negotiations continue to stall after this, leadership looks unreasonable. If they suddenly agree, they have to admit her voice changed everything. Caitlin Clark didn't play politics. She didn't grandstand. She just spoke plainly, and everyone listened. That's star power. That's credibility. She shifted the entire conversation in one moment. Now the pressure is real. The clock is ticking, and the biggest star in the league just made it clear. Stop playing games. Play basketball. Build the future. That's the reality everyone has to face now. And this is where everything comes to a head. This isn't just another labor dispute or negotiation cycle that will quietly fade away. This is the moment that defines where the WNBA is actually headed. Momentum like this does not come around often. And once it's gone, you don't just flip a switch and get it back. Caitlin Clark didn't scream. She didn't threaten. She didn't play politics. She simply said what needed to be said at the exact moment it needed to be said. And that's why it landed so hard. When the biggest star in the league tells everyone that playing basketball matters more than endless leverage games, it forces reality to step into the room. This entire situation has exposed something deeper than money. It exposed priorities. On one side, you have fans who finally care, networks that finally invested, and players who just want to hoop and build something lasting. On the other side, you have leadership playing slow chess while the clock is running out fast. The league doesn't survive on principles alone. It survives on games. It survives on packed arenas, TV ratings, and fans showing up night after night. Caitlin Clark understands that better than anyone because she's the one bringing those fans through the door. That's why this moment feels different. It's not owners versus players anymore. It's not league versus union. It's about whether the people in charge can get out of their own way long enough to let the sport grow. And make no mistake, fans are watching closely. Casual fans, too. The ones who just started paying attention. The ones who don't care about CBA language or negotiation tactics. They care about one thing. Is there basketball or not? If this season disappears, a lot of those fans disappear with it. And once they're gone, they're not guaranteed to come back. That's the risk nobody wants to admit out loud. Caitlin Clark didn't just make a statement. She drew a line. She showed what leadership looks like in real time. Calm, direct, focused on the long game. That's why her words shifted the entire narrative overnight. Now the pressure is real. The excuses are thinner, and the window is closing fast. January isn't just a date on the calendar anymore. It's a deadline with consequences. So here's the question that matters now. Who actually cares about the future of women's basketball, and who's just trying to win a negotiation at any cost? Because fans aren't stupid. They see what's happening. They know who's pushing to play and who's dragging their feet, and they're going to remember it. If you want the real story as this unfolds, not the watered-down version, not the polished statements, but what's actually happening behind the scenes, you already know where to go. Follow Courtside Leaks for updates they won't put in press releases, conversations they don't want amplified, and the truth as this situation keeps evolving. This saga isn't over yet, not even close. One thing is clear though, the future of the league will be decided by who chooses basketball over ego. And Caitlin Clark already made her choice. We've got every angle covered, every leak, every backstage twist, every moment they won't show you. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines.